Good afternoon, everyone. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews, and I am your literary ambassador. And today we have Don Menge, a children's author, on the channel today. Welcome, Don.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
Doing okay.
All right. Tell us about you and you as an author.
As an author, I have a PhD in curriculum instruction, and I started writing my books when I was taking my credentialing class. I teach moderate to severe disabilities, and one of the assignments in the math class was to create a math book and a game. So what I did was I created a book based on calendar skills, and I had my students in it. And we used to do these road shows, and we travel around to different schools, and we would do these little skits. So we did part of this as a skit. So I decided at one point that I just wanted to publish the book. So I put the children of my family in it, thinking, they couldn't complain or anything, or they wouldn't notice. And I immediately started getting awards. I got a first place in the Evie Awards. I started getting interviews, and then they started asking me, well, what's your next book? And I'm like, I don't have a next book like that. What's that? So as I was talking to my friends and going around thinking, well, okay. So, and Queen Vernita was my grandmother. And so I based the character of the book on my grandmother. And so she was a world traveler, and she helped found the United Methodist Credit Union. So she was an astute business person and somebody I really admired. And so my mom and my grandma and my dad, they all put a lot of the traveling bug into me. So I started traveling. So I had Queen Vernita travel around her kingdom. And she went to different areas in her kingdom and learned about different cultures and the flora and fauna. And everyone in the book is a real person. And like this one is based on astronomy. So the queen meets Sir Heathy Bean, the astronomer. And Sir Heathy Bean is my little brother. We used to call him Heathy Bean when he was little. And he's actually an astronomer at JPL, and he helped me write the book. And so each month has a new planet, and they all have the same format. There's a new month with a new person and a new subject, and then there's 7 facts, one for each day of the week. And so it's kind of a catalyst to go to a subject that you like. So one month is Saturn, 1 month is Mars. So if you're interested in Saturn, then you could go find more information about Saturn. And then this one is based on New Orleans. And the queen travels around. She goes to the bayou. She goes to the French Quarter. She learns about plantations and slavery. This one and this one, they go up to 5th and 6th grade. Okay. And it's the same thing. Each month is a new friend, a new subject, and then 7 facts. I've done everything in the books. Like for this one, we actually went into the bayou. Hopefully I can find the page. And we held baby alligators. And here's this one. This actually came from an actual picture from one of my adventures. And we went into the bayou, and we went on an airboat, and we were holding the baby alligators. It was really interesting. And then this one, I have friends that live in Kona, and this one is based on them. And we go around and we go fishing, we go swimming in the lava tubes, in the caves, and we did all of that. Everybody in that book is real. I've added some disabilities to some of my books. They have Down syndrome and autism and Rett syndrome. And then this one is Alaska. And the queen travels to Alaska, and she learns about eagles and glaciers and whales and the flora and fauna. And then this one, I have 10 total. This one is the paddle boat. We took a paddle boat ride up the Lewis and Clark Trail up the Snake River, and this is about that journey. We learned about dams and salmon and fishing, and this one again is a higher one. This one is Baja, Mexico, and she learns about, paddle boats to La Bufadora, and she learns how to surf, and she goes camping, and she has a grunion run. And then this one is the coastline of California, and it talks about tide pools and octopus. And this one is 3rd and 4th grade. And again, it has all the same formats: days of the week, months of the year, seasons, and then each month is a new friend and a new idea, and then 7 facts. And then I have one, I don't have a copy of it, but my newest one is Queen Vernita visits the volcanic islands, conquers the volcanic islands. And it's about Kona, and it's about volcanoes, and it has mermaids in it, and it just won its 8th award. And I'm really excited about that one because I wanted to do something different. So I entered it into the Conquering Our Disabilities with Film Festival. There was a short word, 35 word, and I entered 2 of my books, this one and my new one, and they both got selected to be part of the festival, which would be in July in Las Vegas. You know, I don't know if we're going to get to go to that or not, but I was really excited about that because that's like a whole new avenue for my books. So that's the beginning of it.
Okay, would you like to read or show me some illustrations?
Yes, well, let's start with the illustrations for my new book. I just submitted it to the publisher. It's based on the train ride from Williams, Arizona to the Grand Canyon. And there was 19 of us from my family. We went, and then that night we went on the Polar Express.
Wow.
So this is pre-K to 1st grade, and these are some of the illustrations that were done. They're taken from actual pictures of my family. This is my son and my daughter and my granddaughter, and they're on the train and they're reading a book. And then this was the fireplace by the Grand Canyon. And then on this one, we talked about hot chocolate and the different flavors that you could have. So it's a fun book, pre-K to 1st grade. This is the Virginia the conductor, and this is me getting on the train. And then this is my granddaughter, Maddie, and she's looking out the window of the train. And so we talk about that. We talk about the trees and everything she's seeing on the outside. My grandson, Blake, looking out the window, we're talking about that. And there was a bandit on the train, and the bandit came, and these are my grandsons, and he held them up. So here we talk about bandits and pirates and what they're doing. And then this one, the Music Man. These are all my coworkers from work and their family that allowed themselves to be in my illustration. And then we talked about the different music they were singing. And then this is the Santa's workshop, and they're building their teddy bears to take on the train. And then this is a picture. These were my sons. They were kind of hanging over the ledge of the Grand Canyon, and they gave me a little start. But then I realized there was a ledge right underneath them. I just couldn't get from my angle, so I'm like, okay. But they had good time scaring me on that one. And then this, of course, is the Grand Canyon. And so we talk about that. We talk about the snow and Christmas. And then this is, she's writing a letter to Santa Claus. So this would be the month of November. And then this is December. And they get to see Santa Claus, and he reads them a story. And then this was my grandson. He fell asleep in Santa's lap. So this is the one I'm hoping it'll be on about a month or so. So I'm excited about that. It's pre-K to 1st grade. And then so I already started on my next one. And the next one is based on, we always go camping at Halama Beach. It's across from Solvang. It's on the coast of California. And so I decided this is going to be a pre-K to 1st grade too. And this is the sunset with my grandma Vernita and myself. And then this is their fishing. So we're going to talk about fishing. And she's working on a fireplace. They're around the fireplace, and they're making s'mores. And so it's going to be all about camping and kite flying. And there's going to be raccoons in it. So I'm excited about that. So would you like me to read this one?
Yes, yes.
So this is my first one. It's Queen Vernita's Visitors, and it's based on her visit. Her visitors come to the castle and meet her. My series has won 41 awards now, various different awards. Yeah, so let's see, let's start. Vernita was the queen of the majestic world called Oceaneer. She lived in a beautiful castle that was covered in ivy and red roses. Vernita loved being the queen, but she missed all of her friends from the land of Quails. She hadn't seen them in such a long time. Queen Vernita looked at her calendar to see how long it had been. She counted 1 January, 2 February, 3 March, 4 April, 5 May, 6 June, 7 July, 8 August, 9 September, 10 October, 11 November, and 12 December. It has been 1 whole year since I have seen my friends. Queen Vernita decided to invite a friend to come and visit her during each month of the year. That night, Queen Vernita wrote 12 invitations to her 12 friends. And then this is a picture of my grandma, Grandma Vernita. In January, she invited Debbie. Debbie stayed from January 1st to January 31st. Queen Vernita loved her visit with Debbie. On Mondays, they played Jolly Jump Rope. On Tuesdays, they played Juggling Jacks. On Wednesdays, they played Foursquare. On Thursdays, they watched marvelous movies. On Fridays, they popped pumpernickel popcorn. On Saturdays, they went for long walks around the castle. On Sundays, they stayed home and read 3 books. Oh, this side. In February, Tommy came to visit. On Mondays, they played catch with Tommy's old worn gloves. On Tuesdays, they played school and practiced writing their ABCs in cursive. On Wednesdays, they watched movies and ate popcorn. On Thursdays, they rode on their sleds down the big hill behind the castle. On Fridays, they had huge snowball fights. On Saturdays, they made beautiful snow angels. On Sundays, they laid by the fireplace and took long naps, snoring loudly. Tommy stayed for only 28 days because this year was not a leap year. And this is my dad. This is a picture of my dad. In March, Dana came to visit. She stayed for all 31 days and brought her 7 favorite board games. Queen Vernita and Dana played a new game each day of the week. On Mondays, they played Monster Bash. On Tuesdays, they played Twisted Twisty. On Wednesdays, they played Wiggle Free. On Thursdays, they played Think It Through. On Fridays, they played Freeze Machine. On Saturdays, they played Sink the Ball. On Sundays, they played Sour Grapes. In April, spring brought warmer weather and Kale with his dog Scrappers. Queen Vernita loved playing with Kale and his dog. She played with him all 30 days of April, even during the April showers. On Mondays, they played Belly Ball. On Tuesdays, they played Catch the Tail. On Wednesdays, they chased Scrappers around the castle. On Thursdays, they skipped around the castle. On Fridays, they stayed inside and played the Jester's Wild Card game. On Saturdays, they went into town to play miniature golf. On Sundays, they dug carrots out of the garden. In the month of May, Jeremy came. He loved to see all of the flowers that the April showers brought. They picked flowers for all of the 31 days of May. On Mondays, they picked Merry Marigolds. On Tuesdays, they picked Tiny Tulips. On Wednesdays, they picked Wild Wedding Bells. On Thursdays, they picked Thorny Thistles. On Fridays, they picked the freshest Jeremy had ever seen. On Saturdays, they picked Sunny Sunflowers. On Sundays, they picked Shiny Shellflowers. Jeremy had so many flowers, he could hardly get them all home. And then we would practice counting the flowers. And then this is my son, Jeremy. June was the beginning of summer, and that's when Wesley came to visit the land of ocean air. Queen Vernita and Wesley had a great time playing in the summer sun. On Mondays, they climbed the big pine tree outside. On Tuesdays, they went for a drive in the countryside. On Wednesdays, they painted pictures about their favorite activity of the week. On Thursdays, they slept outside and gazed at the stars. On Fridays, they went cosmic bowling. On Saturdays, they went to listen to music at the park. On Sundays, they enjoyed yummy ice cream sundaes. Queen Vernita and Wesley thought that all 30 days of June were enchanting. When July came, so did Ashley. They decided to explore the beautiful white sands of the Oceaneers Beach. The girls had a wonderful time playing on the beach. On Mondays, they built enormous sandcastles. On Tuesdays, they played frisbee in the waves. On Wednesdays, they boogie boarded. On Thursdays, they walked on the pier. On Fridays, they ate fried fish tacos. On Saturdays, they collected sticky starfish. On Sundays, they just lay in the sun and got a suntan. Queen Vernita and Ashley had 31 glorious days of July to spend lounging at the Oceaneers Beach. Queen Vernita was sad to see Ashley go. Then came August and Hannah came to visit. August is a very hot time in the land of Oceaneers, so they decided to go to the mountains and go camping for the 31 hot days of August. They had so much fun exploring the mountains. On Mondays, they went hiking. On Tuesdays, they fished in the stream. On Wednesdays, they slept outside of their tents so they could count all of the stars. On Thursdays, they went for a walk in the nature trail. On Fridays, they collected pine cones. Saturday nights, they made a campfire and cooked s'mores. They were so gooey and yummy, made of marshmallows, graham crackers, and chocolate. On Sundays, they sat and listened to the sounds of the forest. I love camping in the forest of Oceaneers. I can't wait to come back next year, said Hannah. I am having a great time too. I will count all 12 months until we can do this again. And then we would count the stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 14 stars. There's 1 moon. There's 2 girls. There's 2 frogs and 2 fish. As the season of summer left, fall came. Along with the changing of the leaves' colors came Virginia. September is apple picking time. For the whole 30 days, they picked apples and made delicious smelling food for all the village people. On Mondays, they made apple pie. On Tuesdays, they made apple tarts. On Wednesdays, they ate applesauce. On Thursdays, they ate the apples right off the trees. On Fridays, they made apple fritters. On Saturdays, they made baked apples. On Sundays, they made cinnamon apple cakes. On the 30th day of September, the whole village gathered to say goodbye to Virginia. We will miss your wonderful apple desserts. We will count all 12 months until you return. Then we talk about apples and if people like to eat apples and what they liked. In October, the days became shorter and all the leaves had changed colors. They were bright orange, yellow, red, brown, and purple. Mike brought with him a big bag. I want to pick pumpkins, make pumpkin pie, pumpkin seeds, and jack-o'-lanterns, and collect lots of beautiful leaves. That sounds great, Mike, Queen Vernita said as they did just that. On Mondays, they picked pumpkins. On Tuesdays, they made pumpkin pies. On Wednesdays, they made pumpkin seeds. On Thursdays, they made jack-o'-lanterns. On Fridays, they collected orange and red leaves. On Saturdays, they collected yellow and brown leaves. On Sundays, they collected purple leaves. At the end of the 31 days of October, Mike gathered all of his fall collections to take back to his family. I will see you again in 1 year, Queen Vernita. That is 12 short months away. In November, the village of Oceaneers celebrates turkeys. For the whole 30 days, they eat nothing but turkey meals for dinner. Nicole was so excited. This was her month to visit Queen Vernita, and she loved turkey. So on Mondays, they ate turkey pot pies. On Tuesdays, they ate turkey with mashed potatoes. On Wednesdays, they ate hot turkey sandwiches. On Thursdays, they ate turkey with cranberries. On Fridays, they ate cold turkey sandwiches. On Saturdays, they ate turkey soup. On Sundays, they ate a big feast with the entire village. Everyone brought their favorite turkey dish. And then we talk about who liked turkey dinner and what they liked. And then December was the last month of the year and the beginning of the season of winter. Tyler Ann was Queen Vernita's last visitor of the year. She stayed for all 31 days of December. They did lots of fun things during their visit. On Mondays, they raked all of the leaves. On Tuesdays, they sat by the fireplace. Queen Vernita and Tyler Ann looked out the big picture window and watched the falling snow. On Wednesdays, they strung popcorn on string for the birds. On Thursdays, they made crunchy caramel cookies. On Fridays, they went to see all of the sparkling Christmas lights. On Saturdays, they wrapped presents with the big bright bows. On Sundays, they sang cheery Christmas carols. Tyler Ann stayed until the end of the year. On January 1st, she wished Queen Vernita a Happy New Year and packed her bags. As Queen Vernita watched Tyler Ann drive away from a beautiful castle, she could see in the distance that her wonderful friend Debbie was on her way for her month-long visit. I am so glad that I have 12 such great friends to come and visit me on each of the 12 months of the year, said Queen Vernita as she walked up to greet Debbie. And that is the end of the first adventure.
Oh, wow. Thank you for reading that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you said that most of your books have your family members in it and some of your students.
Yes.
How did your students react when they knew they were in a book?
Well, I teach moderate to severe disabilities, so a lot of them aren't really aware that they're in the book. The parents are in the book with them. Like my new one, I had an autistic student, and him and his dad are in my book, and they're learning all about the volcanic islands, and he's teaching the Queen how to communicate with his communication device. It's kind of like an iPad. So they talk about that. And so his dad was very excited that he was in the book. But Connor himself wasn't really aware of it. I have another little girl, she has Rett syndrome, and her and her mom are in it. And we've actually been on some interviews together so she could talk about her daughter and Rett syndrome and how they handle the day-to-day activities and the concerns that she has to deal with every day. But in the book, they're putting together leis with flowers, lacing the leis for their class. So my students aren't aware that they're in the books. Their families are aware of it, and you know, their parents are in the books. And I also have deaf. I have a friend who has 2 nieces and nephews who are deaf and blind. So they're in my Hawaii book. And she has a son who has cerebral palsy, so he's actually in this book. And then this one, there was a little boy that my brother knew actually, and his nickname was Turtle. And so they belong to a family motorcycle group. And so Turtle's in here with his mom, and even his jacket that says Turtle is on there. And so his whole family's in the book. And so, you know, it's fun for them, and it's educational for the people that are reading it. They get just a little tidbit of information, just 7 facts about the students. And then, you know, it kind of, when you're reading it to the children, it kind of introduces the different disabilities. And if they're interested or they know someone who might have it, they could get more information about it, or maybe start talking about it. The parents could talk about it. I also, when I first published this one, this is my 3rd book, I believe. When I published this one, I had a friend who lived in Long Island, and I live in California. So she bought 30 books for her son who was in kindergarten for his whole class. And so, yeah, it was really nice. And so I flew out there and did a book reading at the school. And then I did one there's a bookstore on Long Island, and I was reading it, and someone walked up at that time and said that his son, who had autism, read the book every single night. And they enjoy it because of the repetition. And so it's comfortable for them, and they really enjoy reading it. And the repetition helps to reinforce the calendar skills and then the facts that are in the stories. So.
Now tell me, what is your favorite childhood book?
Oh, I remember like the Boxcar Children.
Me too.
Nancy Drew, love Nancy Drew. Younger than that, I don't really remember, because I actually had trouble learning to read. I didn't like reading, and my dad sat down with me. I think I was in 3rd or 4th grade, and he sat down with me every single night and helped me to learn to read, and then I just took off. And so the Boxcar Children, I love The Outsiders. You know, we were in high school reading that. As I got older, I really like crime mysteries. You know, for a while there, when my children were little, and, you know, they're running around and you can't really think and get into a book, I was into romance. You know, so I don't have a favorite. And now that I've gotten more into academia, you know, of course, you know, I wrote my dissertation, so there was a lot of that kind of reading. I wanted to do something different because I don't get to read very much for fun. You know, it's hard to get your brain to stop long enough to focus on a book. So I volunteered to be a judge for indie romance authors. So this will be my 4th year. And so I get 3 or 4 books, romance books, written by indie authors for Indie Tale. And I get to read them and judge them. And I really enjoyed that. I did some sweet romance. I had some mystery one year. So that's really fun. And I do a lot of stuff with Story Monster magazine. All of my books are Story Monster approved, and it's Five Star Publishing out of Tempe, Arizona. So I drive there a lot, do a lot of activities with them. I also write book reviews for their magazine. So right now I have a stack in front of me of about, I don't know, like 30 books for me to write reviews for. And then I also do some children's judging for their children's literature. So I just do a lot of different kinds of things. So, you know, it's kind of branched out.
Well, how does your family support you as an author?
Oh, well, they let me put them in all my books. And yeah, that actually surprised me, because when I did the first one, I put all the little kids, and then the adults wanted to be in the book. And I'm like, really? Like, you want to be in a book? So yeah, so I branched out to, you know, my children are in it, and then my coworkers are in it, my friends from work, all, you know, some of my other friends. And they really seem to really enjoy being part of the book. Mm-hmm. They want to be part of the adventure that the book is in, but, you know, mostly it's with my family or something. But, you know, they support me a lot. They know I'm doing this. You know, I make them public, because I match the illustration with the actual picture. So when I'm like advertising or posting it, so my mom travels with me a lot. She goes to a lot of the book fairs with me. She was a kindergarten teacher for over 20 years. And the first book signing I had, actually, I had when we could go into the libraries just kind of on our own, just call them up, you know, I want to do a reading. So this was a while ago. I did like 13 libraries one summer, and my mom went with me and drove around with me, and we needed a craft. So being the kindergarten teacher that she is, she sat in the backseat of the car and made a crown. So this is what we're going to make. And we're still making them out of construction paper, and I have crayons and glitter and stamps and all sorts of stuff. And I've had, you know, 20 kids at my table making the crowns and putting them on. So that's a lot of fun. They really like doing that. I'm kind of branching out into maybe making a coloring book of my books. So they'll have a coloring page to color when I do book readings. I was supposed to, I have a new publisher. They're a small publisher, Rushmore Press out of Vegas. And I was supposed to go to the BookCon Festival in New York City, and the BEA with Archway Publishing, which is part of Simon & Schuster. And of course it got canceled. But I was gonna have a book signing in Times Square, and I was really excited about that. So hopefully I'll get to do it next year.
Yeah. How long on average does it take you to write a book?
When I sit down and write the book, it only takes me about a week or two, because they all have the same format. And because they're actually based on what I'm actually doing in my life, you know, I've already done the research. Once I've done the trip or whatever, I've done all the research. It takes my illustrator, sometimes it takes a year for her to finish the illustrations. Sometimes it only takes her 2 months. It matters what she's up to and what I'm up to, because I get very busy. So I tried to make it so I would put one book out a year. And then I kind of had a couple years where I didn't get to publish it. So now I'm making up for it since we're home now and I'm working from home.
What do you do when you're not writing?
Well, I love to travel. I teach K through 12 media, moderate for disabilities. I travel to Sacramento a lot, and I work with the CDE and the ETS, working on the California test for our students. So I don't have a lot of really free time. When I do, I spend it with my family, camping, traveling, relaxing. Since we've been home now, I'm really getting into Netflix. I've watched more TV the last month than I've watched in years.
How do you feel about reviews, whether they're bad or good?
Reviews have always been really good. I've only had like a couple of 3s, mostly 4s and 5s. So I think reviews are good. I think they're helpful to the readers so that they know what someone else is thinking about the book. Are harder to get than when I first started doing it. It seemed a lot easier. So I don't really focus on that right now. But they do help with someone who's searching you out and wants to read about your stories and what you're doing.
What has been your best accomplishment thus far as a writer?
I think the best accomplishment is educating people on the disabilities and teaching the children that learning about activities and places can be fun. You know, all the books talk about being out and about in the world and being active and being adventuresome and, you know, hiking and camping and swimming and fishing and, you know, canoeing and all sorts of things, whitewater rafting, just adventure. And it teaches, you know, the first one talks about reading and game playing and, you know, all sorts of stuff. So to me, it's teaching the children how to have adventure and to not be focused on TVs. And, you know, there's no TVs in my books. There's no iPads. There's no, you know, even in my classroom, I don't really utilize electronics. I think they can do that at home. And I just think sometimes we're losing a lot by having our children spending so much time on, you know, the electronics. We've lost the being outside. You know, when I grew up, we were outside all the time, and, you know, it was safer. You know, I grew up in a small town, but the kids are more, you know, structured all of the time instead of just free playing, where they get to explore and gain their imaginations and make mistakes. And, you know, I think we're losing a lot with that. So I'm hoping to, you know, encourage that.
Where can readers find you?
I have a website, Dr. Dawn Menge, and all of my books are on there. My bio's on there. They're on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. They're on my publisher's website, Rushmore.com. You can contact me at Queen Vernita's at queenvernitasvisitors@yahoo.com.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add before we go?
No, this is a great time to buy a book and read a book.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. I am your literary ambassador. Happy reading. Bye, y'all.
Bye.